Welcome to another episode of Uniting Utah, the podcast of the United Utah Party. I'm Richard Davis. I'm the chair of the party, and with me today is Jim Bennett, who's our communications director. Good to see you again, Jim.
Good to see you.
And also Chris Rawlins, who is a UUP candidate for the State House from House District 6.
Correct.
Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
So tell us about your background. Tell us about, how long have you lived in Utah? Are you from Utah? Where'd you go to school? What do you do for a living?
Yeah, so I am from Utah. Spent a few years of my childhood in North Orem and then moved all the way to South Orem, which is where I really grew up. I went to Mountain View High School, home of the Bruins, and then I went to BYU, and I was a history major. I focused on early American history, Revolutionary War period. Constitutional history was another thing that I studied a lot. I knew I wanted to go to law school at that point, and that's what I did. After I graduated from BYU in 2010, I went to law school in Washington, D.C. I went to Georgetown University Law School, so lived in Northern Virginia, went into D.C. for law school. Law school is 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, I had the opportunity to take a job back here in Utah. And so I moved to Lehigh, and that's where I've been ever since. And so I'm an attorney by trade, but I don't work at a law firm. I work in-house for a software company. So.
Interesting. Okay, Thank you. You have a family?
I do. So the summer between graduating at BYU and going to law school, I met my wife, and we were set up by a mutual acquaintance. And then after our first date, which went so well, I told the acquaintance, this is like the worst thing that could happen because I'm leaving. I'm leaving in like 6 weeks to go to Washington, D.C. So how's this going to work? And the way it ended up working is I married my wife, Lacey, during my first year of law school. And then she moved out, and then we moved back here. So I have a wife and 3 beautiful daughters. So,
what are the ages on the kids, or daughters?
We have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and then a 6-month-old.
So you're not sleeping at all.
You know, our baby is a very good sleeper. Like just the other day we were saying she might be just an angel baby who sleeps really well, and then we think she started teething like the next day. So not
never
much
ever
sleep.
say things like that.
It's clearly my fault. I just wish I have one daughter who's a night owl and one daughter who's a morning person, and I just wish they'd sync up. Right? I can handle either one. I'm fine with, but one of each is what doesn't work for me.
Well, if you went to law school in Washington, D.C., you couldn't have avoided politics and all of that. I mean, has politics been part of the mix throughout your career and throughout your life?
So politics, not as much. No, when I was younger and had a not very mature, I would say, view of what politics was, I thought, oh, this is exciting. And then as I got older, hopefully more mature, I actually kind of had written off politics. I wasn't interested in politics. I was very interested in policy, right? And that's one of the reasons I went to Washington, D.C., is because I did want to be involved in, how do we make good rules, right? Good administrative rules, good laws. How do we make good policy? And so that I was interested in, and it's kind of one of the reasons I went the lawyer route. And at law school, Georgetown has a special program for first-year curriculum. The first-year curriculum in law school is very regimented, but Georgetown has one that they claim is more geared towards, if you're more interested in policy work, we'll talk more about like administrative rulemaking in this alternative first-year curriculum. And I signed up for that because I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I want. But politics, no, I did get a chance to work in the Senate 2 summers, both of my law school summers.
Who did you work for?
So I worked for Orrin Hatch. I was a law clerk for Senator Hatch, which was great. He was working on an article about obscenity laws, and they let me kind of take that. and run with it and do a lot of research and draft a lot of things. I got to do some other stuff too. But yeah, so I worked for Senator Hatch my first summer, and then the second summer I actually worked in Senator Grassley's office, who was the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee at the time. And so that office was working a lot on the Fast and the Furious investigation, if you remember that.
Sure.
So other people were doing way more on it, but that was a lot of what I was involved in.
So you've seen somewhat the legislative process, at least at the federal level.
Somewhat, yeah.
Do you think that might help you to understand the legislative process at the state level?
I think it would help. I think that having seen the process, even though it was a different level, having seen what goes into drafting laws, to researching laws, to trying to build coalitions to pass laws, I think that will help. And even just the considerations of thinking about, okay, well, what makes a good law? What should we be passing as a legislature? How can we help solve problems? Is what I think will help, and what I hope will help.
Well, so Senator Hatch and Senator Grassley, those are both Republicans,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not a Republican anymore.
I'm not a Republican anymore.
Can you explain your evolution there?
Yeah. So I may have been unaffiliated when I worked with them. Actually, I have been unaffiliated most of my life. Actually, I had an unpleasant experience. Again, going back to how I wasn't interested in politics, I had an unpleasant experience talking about politics when I was a senior in high school, actually, and I just decided, you know what, I'm unaffiliated, right? I'll vote for whoever makes the most sense. And then I found the United Utah Party, and I thought this is, if there was a party that is what I'm for, this is it. And so I was really excited about that. And so I've been a member of the party, a supporter of the party ever since this party was created. So yeah, it wasn't a defection so much as I found it, right? This was what I was looking for in a party anyway.
So let me ask you the question, why do you want to be a state legislator?
Because I want to help have better government in Utah, and I think I can help have better government in Utah. A government that's more representative of what most Utahns actually feel about what our government should be doing. Governments that's more responsive to what the people are asking for, and government that's more effective at solving the problems that a lot of Utahns face. And I looked at what this coming election and was feeling frustration, was feeling a sense of, well, who am I going to vote for? How, with my vote alone, am I going to help bring about that change and make Utah government better? And I realized that I couldn't, not the way I wanted to. And so that's when I decided to run for the legislature. What's the phrase, be the change you want to see? That's kind of what I'm doing here.
What's your campaign been like so far? What's your experience been?
Well, it's been a little not nerve-wracking. It's made me a little nervous, just trying to make sure that I don't make any missteps with the requirements, like the filing, the financial reporting, things like that. And so just knowing the mechanics of it has, I've been very cautious about that. As I put myself out there, there's some vulnerability, a lot of vulnerability with running, putting yourself out there to family, friends, strangers, saying, hey, I'm doing this, and I hope that you can be supportive of it. And the feedback's been great, but there's still some vulnerability. I will say what I have really enjoyed is the other United Utah Party candidates and other supporters and legislative district chairs and other members of the party who feel obviously a lot of the same things I do, although they all have their own unique reasons. As I've worked with them, I thought, wow, these are really great people. And it's something that my interaction with them has been a great part so far.
So you've probably gotten to, since you've lived in Lehigh for a few years, so you've probably gotten a sense of what is important to people in your district, which I thought, is it, when answering the question, why don't you explain where your district is, but what issues are you planning to stress as a state legislator that are the issues that are important to your constituency? And where is that constituency geographically?
Yeah, so the 6th district is Lehigh, on the part of Lehigh that's on the west side of the freeway, which is the meat of Lehigh, right? The majority of Lehigh. I also take in Traverse Mountain on the other side of the freeway, up by the point of the mountain. And then I think some of my district also is the very northeastern part of Saratoga Springs, the kind that wraps around the lake towards Lehigh. And so, I mean, the issues are the same that a lot of individuals in the Valley are facing. It's things like healthcare, education. In our district, growth is a big deal. You know, the growth of our state, of this area, is just incredible, and that's great, and it's awesome. But how do you build a good community, right? How do you be deliberate? This is how I think of the problem. How can we be deliberate about what we're doing now so that, you know, in 20 years, we don't look back and say, wow, we really didn't build for growth well, and we're paying the price now. So, and then obviously everyone is really concerned about the pandemic, COVID-19, and that goes back to education. And, you know, my wife and I are reviewing our school's plans for how are they going to open, right? How do we keep our kids safe? How do we keep the teachers safe? But still, you know, have our kids get the education they need.
So how do people contact you? Do you have a website?
So I have a website. It's chrisrawlins4utah.org.
Four is F-O-R or the number 4?
Spelled out, F-O-R. And there's no G, R-A-W-L-I-N-S, no G. chrisrawlins4utah.org. I also have a Twitter, Rawlins4Utah. And so, yeah, that last name, RAWLINS4utah.org. And there's a contact sheet on my website. And I'll be updating my website as the campaign season goes along. So,
do you have a Facebook page?
I don't have a Facebook page yet, but I will get one.
Okay.
The website, like I said, I don't plan for my website to be a static thing, especially since, you know, I want feedback from potential constituents, people in my community. I'd like to know what they think, and as I get feedback, I plan on updating my webpage with, you know, answers to questions that I'm getting, or even just, you know, I saw this article. This is good policy, right? Here's a proposal that I think is good policy. So, or here's one that I think is bad policy. So I'd point people to the website most of all.
Well, thank you very much for being with us, Chris. You're an impressive candidate, and we certainly want to work to help you win.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, you've been watching another episode of Uniting Utah. I'm Richard Davis, the chair of the party, and Jim Bennett has been with me, the communications director, and Chris Rawlins, who is candidate for the United Utah Party in House District 6, which is Lehigh, Saratoga Springs area. Thank you.